Welcome to Mindset U Podcast, your source of mindset education. We aim to provide you with free, valuable education for you to thrive. Enjoy. In this final chapter, we answer the question, do men go through changes emotionally through physiology? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So, do men have periods?
Yes.
What's the final kind of analysis, thesis?
It's not the same. You know, it's the more of the emotional period because we don't really get the physical aspect of the period, but we get the emotional period. I feel like men get their period anytime like you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you have no idea why you woke up angry that day. That's your period day. And I'm sure if you fucking sit there and you start writing down, like, I know why I'm feeling this way today, blah, blah, blah. But if you just had a great night before, there's been times I've had a fucking wonderful night and I wake up the next morning, I hate everybody. I don't know why. In that moment, I'm like, I don't know why I hate everybody, but I fucking do.
Check out my journal every morning. That's prescribed meaning behind those emotional states.
Yeah, I agree with that thing too. Sometimes I wake up and fuck everybody.
Yeah, and there's no, and it's not like somebody did something to me that morning that I'm like, you know what, my fucking faith in humanity is gone. But there's a certain days I'm like, you know what, I won't fight anybody today. And then it goes away. But that comes with getting older. You know, I think the more, especially with being.
I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
That it goes away, especially with.
Well, you didn't let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was gonna say, it gets older. As you get older, I think it fades away if you put the work in to understand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, through boxing, you guys, and being in a loving relationship and having parents that pretty much let me speak my mind, more so my dad than my mom. I can assess.
You gotta edit that one out.
Those feelings. Oh no, I'll tell her straight up because she's the first one that if I show emotions. She's the lady who's like, you don't show enough emotion, and then I show emotion, and she's like, all right, relax, just get through it. And I'm like, all right, lady, well, then what do you want me to fucking do? It's not that I won't say it in her face. I love her to fucking death, and she drives me fucking crazy sometimes. I just think that, you know, when it comes to, if you put in the work and you start assessing why you do certain things that you do or why you feel a certain way about certain things, you can always stem it back to it. It's either going to be a childhood trauma or some trauma that you saw in your later teens or in the early adulthood, and you just kind of latch onto it and you're like, okay, I felt that way. So when something kind of similar happens, like you start putting that, like, okay, I felt that. You put that in that container, and I think you have to learn that that's not the way to cope with things. It's easy. It's a lot easier to generalize something and be like, okay, well, you know, this person made me angry because they said this. And it's like, okay, but why are you letting that fuck with you? You know, and it always stems down to something that's personal to you, you know. I look at it this way. I remember one time skating with one of my friends, and this guy called him a faggot. And then the other day, I'm like, okay. Ooh. You know. For some reason that day, he was like, I'm not letting anybody call me a faggot today. He went up to the kid and fought him. You're the calmest kid I fucking know. What happened? He's like, in high school, kids used to fucking give me shit all the time. He goes, so that's my trigger word. And I'm like, that's weird. Mm-hmm. But I understand it. But at the same time, that's not the way you deal with it. You can't just fight everybody who calls you a name. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like the idea of doing that. But in a functional society, that's not how you can really get through with it.
Moses?
I think men have periods. I think from the physiological or sensational point of view, it's like this sense of feeling tired, groggy, grumpy, like, and just I want to be sleeping all day. That is essentially, which I don't feel it's too different other than the cramps. I don't think it's too different from women, right? And then I just want to fucking argue with people. And my response to those emotions is very direct, short responses.
It's that I know.
Very kind of sarcastic.
Yeah, I know when I have my period because when friends start talking to me, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't care. And I'm like, normally, I'm your friend. I want to hear about your life. I want to know why you feel this certain way. There's days where I'm like that. I'm like, get over it. Do what you gotta do. Stop it. Stop talking to me.
It's not even about the situation. I think for me, it's more like even just somebody saying good morning.
What makes this morning so good, huh?
To support your point, I literally say to Paola, oh, Moses is on his period this week. Not to be a contrarian, but I disagree with men having a period.
Okay.
The reason being that there are a whole set of different changes that happen within women, from chemistry to hormonal, to physical. Like, imagine your uterus cramping to push it out. So like there's all these sensations that are happening constantly. Therefore, when we talk about the control, the influence concept, women have a lot less to be able to influence, a lot less power and to be able to influence. While us men, we have a lot more that we can influence. And therefore, and I take this from my experience of my emotional states and how I manage my emotional states, in which I pride myself in being constant. And to the point that those around me, when I'm not constant, are like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Right? And this has happened between us, Moses. So with that being said, it's like there is a lot more level of influence towards our emotional state, to our reaction, to our performance in life when it comes to what's happening within ourselves, in our bodies and our thoughts. So I wouldn't say that it's a period.
Being a little bitch.
You're being a little ass bitch.
You're being a child.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So you call it period. This is an easier way to say
I mean,
it.
yeah, it's kind of fucked up now. You think about it. You say, oh, you're on your period.
Oh yeah, it's
What
super,
you're saying
it's super condescending.
it's super condescending.
Yeah.
Like that's also.
So it's more, that's what I mean. It's I fuck the guy. It's super condescending to a lady who goes through all these fucking bodily things, and then on top of it,
And then you say you basically point out to some man's
Yeah.
behavior and say you're on your period.
yeah,
It's insensitive. Yeah.
It's insensitive.
yeah, it's super insensitive.
Yeah, Francis. You say it all the time.
I say it about you.
Exactly. That's how you whack it.
Yeah. I mean, I
I
say it
never
about
thought it that way though.
I say it about you, and it's from a place of annoyance of like, manage your shit, bro.
That you don't have control.
Basically.
It's like, fuck, I can't do shit. You're stuck.
You see, and I've noted, and I've learned, like, to not direct my, we'll call it my bitchiness, in those days, to not direct it at my girl. I learned that in this relationship. I was like, do not take it out on her, because if she's not the root of it, if she's not the reason why I feel the certain way that I'm feeling, which probably it has nothing to do with her in the first place, why bring that to her? You know, she's supposed to be my comfort zone. You know, so I've learned in this relationship, it took me 34 years to figure it out. It was like, maybe don't take it out of your significant other. Maybe don't let her be your punching bag. You know.
I mean, women don't. I mean, essentially, women don't take it out on us either. They gotta tell you.
I mean, again, the generalizations, because there are, again, the
It's
baseline
like,
of it
yeah,
is awareness.
It's so,
right?
it's
You need to be aware enough, like you said, 34 years, aware enough to like, oh, recognize that I can direct this. I can choose not to direct this over here. For many women as well, like when I have clients that it's like, oh, I'm gonna be a bitch today because you know I'm first day of my period, right? They're saying basically that they're gonna take this out on everyone. And everyone needs to excuse them because of this, right? So it's like the awareness of like, okay, I can influence this, right? And it's like, okay, you can have a disclaimer, hey, I'm not on my A game today, right? But to be like, you're a fucking dick. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm on my period.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not taking accountability, you know?
That was the key word. Like to me, it's like ownership.
Yeah.
It's like own your shit.
Yeah, and I think that's in relationships, in a healthy relationship, owning your shit will get you so far. Gets you so fucking far. Which is, you know, she's a lot more emotional than I am. And even there's times it's like I learned to like we don't ever yell. Like, I've never yelled at this girl. Ever. Which for me is crazy. Because I'm used to if somebody yells at me to yell back, but she's never even yelled at me. But when we do have disagreements or I don't like the way that she's talking to me about something, I was like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm on your side. I'm not the enemy. So can we direct it somewhere else? And normally she's like, okay, I'm sorry. And then I'll go into the room and I'm like, this is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. Like, this is wild. I get to say this and she's like, okay, I get it. And like, we'll go, we'll give ourselves some time. And then I go into the room and then she's crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And I'm thinking like, did I do it? She goes, no, because I'm disappointed in myself. But how are you treating you? And I'm like, oh, get over it. Like, come on. Like,
that's beautiful.
Stop. But it's so sweet to be with somebody who can do that with themselves.
Take responsibility.
Even if they put a little too much responsibility on themselves for certain things. I'm like, mom, like I completely forgot about what the whole situation was. Like it really, I just said something because I didn't want it to keep going, and then now I'm gonna be passive aggressive with you, or I'm just gonna start fucking with you being a dick, just because I'm like I know how to get under your skin, which is the cheapest thing in the fucking world. That's my specialty, and it works out really well. And I think and what I learned this time around too is when I am mad at her, because I've only been really mad at her once. We were at Disney, and she was just a fucking little brat when we were at a restaurant, and she didn't want to fucking be there. And we wound up leaving. And before I would just blow up right there. What the fuck you doing? Like, why you acting like this kind of thing? And this time around I just got real quiet. And she's used to me just ha ha ha, everything's great, we're at fucking Disney, I'm my favorite place in the world. And I got real quiet, and then she didn't understand why, and I had to explain to her. I was like, look, in my past, I would just go off of my first emotion, which is I'm annoyed with you, and I'm gonna tell you why, and it's not gonna be constructive. But you're being a fucking bitch, blah 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 blah. Like, why the fuck are you doing this here? Instead, it's like, relax. Don't fucking go overexert yourself. Don't make a scene right now. Assess why you're feeling this way, and then when you're calm to have an actual discussion about it, talk. And with her, and I think with a lot of people in the beginning, they don't know how to deal with that. So she's like, I don't like what you're not talking about. I just want you to say how you feel. But you don't want me to say how I feel because I don't even know how I feel. So I'm just gonna fucking try. I'm gonna bark, and I'm just gonna try to intimidate you with the bark for something I don't even know why I'm really fucking mad about.
It's just reactive.
I'm just gonna react, and you don't want me to react. I'm not a great reactor. Never ends well. It either ends with somebody calling me an asshole, or I punch a hole in the wall, which I haven't done in fucking years.
The key thing there is like space, right? Space from the emotional to the reaction to the conversation, right? And that goes both ways, right? Where if, for example, she starts blowing up on you, right? You can also not react in that moment. You can create space. So then it becomes, again, the level of influence of like you can have a lot of influence. This is, I mentioned it the other day, stoicism, right? It's exactly that. You're playing around and constantly exercising influence, right? So you're influencing on how you react to things, how you process things, and the actions that you take when something comes in or when something's trying to come out. There's always a thought process before you take action. That or training behind that no longer needs to be a thought process. It's like when X happens, I react in this way. Now, just like you flinching, moving to the side becomes a reaction that is based on what you desire to do.
I also noticed like with dating before I met the love of my life, one of my biggest red flags with people is when they would talk about their exes, and their exes were always terrible. They're the worst people in the world. Blah, blah, blah. It was always them. I was like, oh, okay, so you're perfect. Got it. You've done nothing wrong ever in a relationship. You're more than human.
It's just a red flag because you don't take ownership. That person takes no ownership.
Yeah, everybody else is the issue, not me, kind of thing. It was like, all right, in certain cases that might be the point, but.
Nah, it's never the point.
When somebody's getting fucking.
Nah, but you have a responsibility to draw a boundary. If someone's taking fucking advantage of you, like I don't want to be with a person that can't fucking set up their own.
No, I was going into like for girls like an abusive relationship.
But there's still
boundaries. But what I'm saying is like when they're like, oh, they were the worst. I'm like, okay, the guy beat the shit out of you. I'm like, all right, you get the pass on that one. That's what.
But then also like for me, I understand that. But I think I would be impressed if the woman was like, I take ownership for not establishing the boundary.
Oh yeah.
That to me would be super impressive. And even for a man too, like a man saying, I was in an abusive relationship and it was my fucking fault that I didn't establish boundaries in there. I'd be like, that's fucking good shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that feels like the most powerful thing that you can do. Just have influence over your reaction because you decide what you tolerate and what you don't. What does your health, love life, spirituality, career, finances all have in common? Your mindset. Mindset is the source of creating change. To learn how to install these and other life-transforming concepts, browse through our free collection of courses at betheproject.com.